So, welcome to tonight's program, Academics and Sustainability in the Gap Year. This is a recorded session that you'll receive a link after the event. However, if you're joining us now, you'll have the opportunity to pose questions to our fantastic panelists at the end. My name is Drew Beasley, and as the USA Gap Year Fair's Outreach and Events Coordinator, I want to extend a huge thank you to you for spending your evening with us. A little bit about who's speaking at you. I'm both a Gap Year alum and an experiential educations leader. I've witnessed just how life-changing gap time can be for myself, as well as scores of other students I've worked with. As you can see from some of these pictures, I've taken every opportunity I could to have meaningful travel experiences, from teaching English in Prague to leading treks in our national park and volunteering my way across South America. However, I had no idea that I wanted to do any of this until I took a gap year in college. So believe me when I say that I'm so excited for you to join us tonight and begin planning your journey, hear from gap year experts, learn about different gap year options, and have the opportunity to ask our fantastic panelists questions about their programs around the world. Before we fully get started, I just want to make a quick note that this information session is part of USA Gap Year Fairs, which is powered by GoOverseas.com. Go Overseas is a community-centered resource for all different types of travel experiences. You can think of us as Yelp, but for meaningful travel programs. You can visit Go Overseas to read verified alumni reviews, find programs, browse articles and guides, and learn more about scholarship opportunities, including the $5,000 Gap Year Scholarship that closes on March 15th. More information about that later. If you find today's session to be helpful, you're in luck, because we have no shortage of resources to help you continue your Gap Year exploration. In the chat, you should see a list of links corresponding to each of the resources that I will touch on today. First up is our digital guide. This virtual catalog is your best bet to familiarizing yourself with some of the most fantastic Gap Year program providers. You can get to know programs at a glance by their location, program offerings, and emphasis. But if all of these programs are making your head spin, we recommend you start with our Gap Matcher. This customizable quiz can help you find your top programs to consider based on your interest that you input. Next up, we've got more ways to interact and meet programs. Did you know that today's virtual event is one of many? You can join us for a virtual Gap Year exploration series, which will highlight different Gap Year providers and their program emphasis. This is an especially great series of events if you already have an inkling of what you'd like to do in your Gap Year, or if you're open to any ideas. Now, I'm very excited to introduce our panelists and welcome Jane Sarouhan, our keynote speaker and Gap Year expert for the event. Tonight's theme is Adventure, Arts, and Media Programs, and we're so excited to have Alex of Where There Be Dragons, Ryan of Irish Gap Year, and Andrea of Berridge Programs. But before we get to any of that, we'll be starting with Jane Sarouhan, who has more than a decade of experience as a Gap Year expert, matching young adults to programs with their dreams. Jane is also one of only a handful of accredited Gap Year consultants in the country. Take it away, Jane.
Thank you, Drew, and welcome everyone. And you can go to the next slide, Drew, since you're the master of controls here, just because we only have a handful of minutes apiece. And what you have waiting for you are these just extraordinary programs to tell you about how they can kind of blend your interests with what they offer with respect to adventure, arts, and media. I'm gonna stay at that 30,000-foot macro level view. That's what I do for our families and our field. I am a co-founder, or one of the co-founders of J2 Guides. And the other part of the J2 is my husband, Jason. Some of you may have already met or seen him speak over the last few months. Jason and I have been in the field for actually about 30 years and Gap Year counseling for almost 15. And as you can see in the beginning on the left-hand side of this slide, my journey started as a Gapper and moved into field instruction, being a program leader in intercultural and wilderness settings. I was a director of a national nonprofit like the ones you'll meet this evening, developing risk management protocol and program itineraries and sustainable ethical planning development. And then moved into Gap Year counseling just about 15 years ago, which really kind of culminates all of my experience with that kind of crux of it being this opportunity to work with families and work with students who are standing on the cusp of change, hungry for something else. And so with that, let's just forward to the next slide. And that's what J2 Guides does. We are Gap Year counselors. The best way to think of us is like college counselors. So programs contact us to discuss best practices and gaps in the field. Families, of course, contact us to help guide them on seeking reputable options. So with all of that, I feel like we can't start without just a flash definition of Gap Year. If this is your first time or 50th time learning about gap year, it often is the case that families are coming to the conversation with a little bit of a skewed definition. So I just want to start us all with this notion that a gap year is quite simply a defined period of time in which an individual is taking pause, usually in their academic, but sometimes their professional kind of path, in order to meaningfully engage in some other areas of interest, period. That is the working definition that Jason and I constantly want to impart to families, because we know that you might read an article or talk to a neighbor or have another child in the family who's gapped. And that gap year looks like a really specific thing. And that really specific thing maybe doesn't look like what you want or need. And thus you might very quickly rule out the possibility of a gap year for yourself. So by coming back to this definition that I've just shared, every single person watching and listening to this presentation can fit themselves into it and say, yeah, I'm that person standing at a crossroads, wondering if there's something else for me for this period of time to help me bridge into my next experience. So with this definition, I haven't said how long your gap time is, where you are, how much you'll spend. It's always coming back to the student and what their goals and interests are, and how our field and space can help them achieve that. So given that I have just a little bit of time, what I want to talk about are these kind of 4 core ingredients for success. And Drew, whenever you're ready, if you can forward me along to the next slide, thank you. Jason and I talk a lot about a macro level strategy for beginning to plan your gap time. And if you're here, then you've done already some digging and investigating, and also are curious about the specific topic. So I don't really need to spend a lot of time about goal setting, because apparently you've done some of that. Congratulations. And are really clear that either adventure or arts or the media is in that kind of top few areas of interest. And you're about to meet really just some of the most extraordinary programs that are out there. So what are some other things to consider as you listen on this evening to these programs and consider what else your gap year might look like? So these are the 4 buzzwords I would love you to keep in mind. Intention. What does that mean? Well, what are your intentions for this period of time? Why the gap year? Of course, that's a great place to start, but why the arts, let's say? Why adventure? And furthermore, kind of what are the kind of environments that are going to best support you in achieving that goal? So there's the intention setting. Why this program? Why this gap year? What are you hoping to get out of it? Structure is something that Jason and I talk a ton about when helping families figure out how to plan a gap year. And structure could look like a lot of different things. Structure doesn't necessarily mean it's a certain period of time or there's a certain amount of hours a day of doing the thing, but it does mean that this goal that you have, whether it's developing proficiency in a language or proficiency in an art medium, it's knowing that a certain amount of time per day or per week is built into this program to support you in achieving it. So what is that level of structure? How is that content area that you're here to learn about going to be facilitated throughout the course of a program? And then furthermore, mentorship. Who are the people that are there that are going to help support it? They are artists themselves, or maybe they're educators or teachers, maybe they're outdoor and wilderness experts, but people who, in addition to helping transfer knowledge around the hard skill set, are people who are going to help transfer knowledge and empathy in the soft skill set, which anyone who's been in our field knows is equally, if not more so, going to be an outcome of an intentional gap time. So who are the mentors? What kind of mentorship are you hoping for, looking for? And please don't miss out on making sure that that aspect is incorporated in the program that you ultimately choose. And of course, last but not least, are peers, and thinking about the value of being with peers. A lot of gappers have an interest in traveling on their own for some portion of the gap time, maybe pursuing their craft independently. And there's certainly room and time in your gap year to do so, but really making sure, at least in the early part of your gap year, that you have a robust community to go through some of these new learnings and experiences with, particularly as a lot of your peers from home are heading off to college or whatever else they may be doing. It's so important to make sure that you also are in a community of like-minded peers. So as you think about and listen to these incredible programs this evening, keep in mind these 4 pillars of intention, structure, mentorship, and peers, and how each one of these can help kind of check those boxes as you look at a particular semester, a program, and frankly, potentially multiple experiences that you might be piecing together over the course of your year. And then lastly, what I want to share, and my last slide is coming up in a moment, are sort of what are some of your next steps? What are some of my tips about how you might approach this evening and your continued journey? First off, I'm going to skip to the second bullet there. Program research. Attending webinars like these, as you well know, is an incredible way to start to get to know programs. You're actually going to hear from 2 or 3 founding directors of these programs tonight. So you're talking to people who have been in the field, who developed these programs, and have a lot to share. The next step for any program that you really get excited about is to make sure you follow up on a phone call and get past the veneer of great videos and photographs and really have one-on-one conversations. And in that process, ask for references. Ask to speak to 2 or 3 alumni who've done the program recently. Parents talking to parents, students talking to students. And I'm a huge fan of following programs on Instagram and Facebook. It is a great and sort of passive way to continue to see what programs are highlighting. Everyone has a semester out right now of the programs you're going to meet, and they're actively highlighting the groups in the field. So you'll see images and hear stories of students who are currently out there on the programs that you're interested in, and a real easy unclick, unfollow if you decide this program is not going to be one for you. So that first kind of mention is really a bunch of great helpful next steps. I probably don't have time to cover it, but in case it can come up later when we do our Q&A, I get a lot of questions about how to do the college process and also data about the benefits of the gap year. Those are the last 2 bullets, and maybe we'll have time to drop some links, or I can drop some links in later while my colleagues are speaking. And then up to the very top bullet, if you find what you're looking for tonight and still have more of your year to fill out, or didn't find what you're looking for quite tonight and are looking for more, gap year consultants like myself and my husband Jason offer free consultations. So just don't hesitate to, again, follow us on social, grab my email, which is quite simply jane@j2guides.com. I bet Drew has already dropped that in. Reach out to people. This is an incredibly inspiring field filled with really just outstanding people, intellectually and emotionally, who want to help answer your questions and get you pointed in the right direction. So your being here tonight is a great start. Keep it up. I will pause there so you can hear from all these wonderful programs, and I will be here at the end for the Q&A. And thanks, Drew, for having me tonight.
Thank you so much, Jane. Really, every time I hear you talk about gap years, you make me want to take another one. Next up, we are going to hear from Alex from Where There Be Dragons.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex, and I am fortunate to work for Where There Be Dragons. We do immersive programs that incorporates adventure, language learning, homestays, mentorship with local mentors, as well, learning a new skill like anything from Ayurvedic medicine to basket weaving, jewelry making, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different trades and crafts to learn. And we do gap semesters both in the fall and the spring for students that are 17 to 22. There's optional college credit, so students can get a full semester worth of credit. And they're small groups. So we travel with 12 students and 3 expert instructors. And the instructors actually create the itinerary. They're fresh every time and constantly improving with each session that we run. And they're really what make the programs incredibly special. And then in addition, we also have programs in the summer. Those are for students aged 15 to 20. And those are for 4 and 6 week programs. So a little bit longer programs. And again, it's kind of like the gap year, but much shorter. And there's no college credit option for those summer programs. Wonderful. And then Drew, do we want to play the video as well?
I'm here to encounter another point of view.
Live my life with purpose.
Just immerse yourself.
Explore who you are, who you want to become.
Being a global citizen is just being human.
You learn things you won't be able to learn at home because it's so different here. Push myself to learn the difference between tourist and traveler.
Not just pass through places without feeling like I've understood.
We delve into the mountains, into the languages, the cities, the people, and most importantly, we delve into ourselves.
Having conversations that reveal truths about myself and others.
Be willing to not say anything, or what you say mean nothing.
We're just being exposed to so many new experiences in such a positive and nurturing group.
Probably going to be more uncomfortable than you've ever been and have to do things that you wouldn't dream of doing right now.
This is an evolving place, it's an evolving people, and we are evolving together too.
Living in the moment as much as you possibly can.
To just take in everything I can.
You can't explain it unless you experience it yourself.
A mental transformation of accepting other people and realizing that you could have been them.
I don't think I've learned so much so quickly or changed so much in such a short period of time thus far in my life.
Thanks, Drew. I love that video. It makes me want to travel immediately. So you've seen through the video a little bit, but we offer programs in Asia, lots and lots of programs in Asia, a couple in Latin America. We have Guatemala, Bolivia, and Peru, a couple in Africa, Morocco and Senegal, and then programs here in North America in Colorado and British Columbia. And thank you all so much. Excited for the Q&A to chime in more.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. Before we do get to that Q&A though, I just want to ask a question right off the bat that I'm certainly wondering, and maybe some of our audience members is wondering. Could you tell me a little bit about what your leaders are like? What are their qualifications?
Yeah, absolutely. So the instructors, we like to say they have local fluency. So they either have grown up in the region, they live there, they've spent years of their life living there, and they speak the language, and they have a wealth of contacts and knowledge in the region as well. So a lot of them have done Peace Corps before. They have their master's, their PhD. They're very fun educators. They're global educators at heart, and they do such a great job of creating these dynamic itineraries, weaving in fun and education throughout the program, and serving as wonderful mentors for the students. And then they also really help with the risk management too, since they live in these regions and they know them so well. So that really helps in so much with safety and risk management for our students.
Thanks again, Alex. As I see Ryan said in the chat, amazing. Sign me up. I second that. Speaking of Ryan, we're next going to hear from Ryan about Irish Gap Year. So take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Drew and Alex. That was inspiring. That was awesome. It was the first time I've seen that video. So that is like, yeah, like I said, sign me up. Before we play our video, I'm going to give a little overview of what we do here at Irish Gap Year. So we run adventure and leadership programs in Ireland. We run art programs in Ireland. We run immersive travel and adventure programs in Europe and Scandinavia. These are semester-length programs. They're small groups, up to 16 students. They take place in the autumn and the spring. And each program has 3 leaders to those 16 students. Tonight, I'm going to focus a little bit just in on our Irish Arts and Culture program, because it's a very unique program. It sees students working with professional Irish artists across a range of disciplines. So our students will be having daily small group workshops in charcoal painting, mixed media upcycling, sculpture, film, photography, and some crafts as well, like wood carving, wood turning, jewelry making. So it's a very hands-on experience of Ireland, Irish culture, and making a lot of art. You don't need to be an artist to do this program. You just need to enjoy the creative process. So again, this is one of several programs that we offer, but I thought it would be cool to kind of just do a deep dive into one of our programs versus an overview of all of our programs. So with that, I think I will play the video. This is a day in the life. So this is like fly on the wall, following the students for a day.
Is we start them off a little bit of art history, kind of teaching them about different artists, different mediums that they've painted in, also looking at things like the supports that they use, whether it's canvases, it's paper, it's boards. I want them to think about painting as in textures rather than about a finished product. I want them to learn how to use the materials. We're using oils, we're using gouache, there's a bit of watercolour and acrylics.
We're doing a piece, I guess, inspired by dreams. I don't really know what mine is. It is things that I've seen in Ireland, mostly. So yeah, I did like a rainbow and some cows because there's cows everywhere. There's very different people here. Yeah, we're all very unique in our own ways and I love it. And honestly, we all get along very well. It's like a big family. We all have dinner together. We enjoy each other's company. We've been here for about 5.5 weeks now and we've done a bunch of different types of art. I've loved it so far, especially just being in Ireland. All of the greenery is amazing and all of the teachers have taught a lot of different really cool things.
Especially just we've done a lot of landscapes and stuff in charcoal. Being in Ireland is crazy inspiring because it's just such a different climate to where I'm from. I've learned a couple different techniques, worked with some different mediums while I've been here, so that's been really interesting as well.
The course has been great, honestly. I've loved it a lot, and it's been honestly doing the workshops and stuff have been my favorite part of this whole experience. I've loved coming in and getting to work with new materials that I've never even heard of before, and also just figuring things out and watching myself improve has been a lot of fun.
I really want them to be a little bit experimental and not to be thinking about painting photographs and being too realistic. I want them to look very painterly, maybe even slightly abstract. That's what I'm hoping that they'll achieve and really push themselves outside of their comfort zone when it comes to painting. So they have these beautiful drawing classes with Michael. where they're almost recreating what they're seeing in charcoal. Whereas with the painting, I'm kind of hoping that they're kind of going outside the box of realism and really starting to create and think about things through colour and texture.
I think drawing is very often about how we see things and how we interpret information. So the lessons are quite basic in that sense. They start off from a very simple premise and then move into slightly more complicated themes like landscape, composition, proportions, perspective, and then with portraiture, obviously it's the features and the tonal values and all of this.
We have 2 workshops a day when we do have workshops, and those are 3 hours. Ish, and then with lunch in between that ends up being like a 7-hour day, but then we have, you know, the rest of the time to do whatever we want essentially. And then when we go out to do things, where we always have time to like explore and sort of do things at our own pace.
Well, you always have 1 or 2 who have clearly made work before and used charcoal before and are already talented, depending on the type of school they go to. I have 1 student at the moment who went to a Steiner school, which is a particular type of very open-minded school, and she's been drawing all her life, and she's clearly very, very talented. But you have other people then who've never touched charcoal, never even thought about expressing themselves, and yet charcoal is a very versatile medium, so it's quite easy to push somebody and get involved in it. It's an awful lot of fun. The idea around the classes is that it'd be fun, but that we're learning to look and learning about the medium, so it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so thanks for playing that, Drew. And yeah, it's as I said, that's one of the many programs that we offer, but I thought it would be pretty cool to do a deep dive into our Irish Arts and Culture program. And so I've dropped my details into the chat room there. You can hop on the website, see the other programs that we offer. Very easy to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from anyone who's interested in learning a bit more. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about that program. And I'll pass it over to, I believe Andrea is next.
Wow, thank you so much, Ryan. Truly, there's not a whole lot I could do if I was given charcoal paint, maybe draw a smiley face, and that's about it. So seeing what some of your students are able to do is really incredible. Before we move it off of Irish Gap Year quite yet, I do want to pose one question to you. And what do you see students mainly taking away from your programs?
If there is one thing across the board that students take away, it's definitely increased confidence and independence. And, you know, what I say to students and their families is, you know, art is the vehicle, outdoor adventure is the vehicle, traveling through Europe, that's the vehicle. The end destination and the goal is the same across all of our programs. And that is to provide students with a break from academics where they're able to put time back into themselves and building themselves up in their own interests. So what they take away from that is, as I said, an increase in their confidence, an increase in their independence, and sort of a refinement of, hey, who am I? What am I about? What direction do I want to be moving in post-gap time?
Thank you so much, Ryan. And like you said, next we're going to move it on over to Andrea from Berridge.
Well, good evening, everyone. Bonsoir, as we say from Normandy, France. My name is Andrea Martin. I'm the founder and director of Berridge Programs. And this evening, I'm going to talk about our gap year program, Creative Semester. This is a 10-week program that takes place here in the Normandy Peninsula. The Normandy Peninsula is a tiny little piece of land that sticks up into the English Channel, where our program is located. And this program combines artistic practice, what we call creative exploration, and cultural immersion here in the Normandy Peninsula. Drew, you can take me to the next slide. So our program takes place here. This is where I'm currently speaking to, actually from this room right here with the balcony. This is Chateau Le Mont-Epingue here in Normandy, France. Our 250-year-old chateau here in the Normandy Peninsula, where we host all of our programs. This program is an opportunity to live in this creative community. We currently have 28 students and 15 professional artists mentoring our students right now. Great opportunity to experience life here in beautiful rural France, to connect with your creative peers. And as I mentioned, our program is led entirely by professional artists who are working in the field, coming from everywhere across the globe: London, Chicago, New York, from Dublin, from Los Angeles, and other places to come here and make art with our students. Next slide, please, Drew. So our program offers a range of what we call artistic concentrations. These are what I call your deep dive. So we offer theater, film, we have a music and music production program, all kinds of things in the studio art realm. We offer design specifically for stage and screen. That would be lighting, costume, and set design. And we also offer photography. So the artistic concentration meets every day, every afternoon from 1:30 to 5:30. And it's offered as a series of classes on rotation. So for example, in the theater program, you would do classes in Shakespeare, in physical theater and movement, and also in acting technique and performance. In the film program, you would work towards making a professional quality short from start to finish: write, shoot, direct, edit, and premiere. One professional quality short and one team film. Music production aims to get you into the studio. It's based on kind of singer-songwriter work, writing and producing your own music. And in the studio art realm, we offer painting, drawing, ceramics, we do jewelry making, and sort of everything in between that you can imagine: painting outdoors, working with charcoal, exploring different mediums. Our photography program offers traditional darkroom photography and digital photography as well. So there's a whole range of things on offer. In addition to your artistic concentration, every morning we offer this creative workshop space. So there's absolutely everything on offer that you can imagine, from improv acting to French cooking to screenwriting, and that is open to every student regardless of their artistic concentration. So I describe the morning as the kind of like sampling and dabbling and playing space, and then the artistic concentration that afternoon as the deep dive. So you get kind of that balance of playing, experimenting, learning new things, crossing over into other disciplines. It's a great opportunity to meet other students who are in other disciplines, as well as being able to deep dive, build skills, build technique, and go further. Next slide, please, Drew. So in addition to all of the wonderful creative things going on here, we have a whole cultural immersion component to our program. So we hit all the major sites here in Normandy: the D-Day landing beaches, which are about a half an hour from our residence; medieval Bayeux, which is the story of the Norman conquest of England; and Mont Saint-Michel, which is pictured in this slide, which is a 1,000-year-old monastery on a tidal island. Our local city here is Cherbourg, and we go out and explore the Cotentin Peninsula here with its 400 miles of pristine coastline, famed throughout France. People come from all over Europe to visit and do coastal hiking, explore the beaches here. It's really quite an incredibly beautiful place. We also have an entire week in Paris, where we hit some of the more sort of classic, well-known sites, as well as kind of some hidden gems, some free time to explore both small group and full group activities. We offer optional French language learning for students who are interested in picking up French, beginner French, travel French, or going further with French language. That's offered twice a week and really focuses on kind of conversational skills, getting out and about, using French. And in addition to all of the field trips, we also have a lot of cultural experiences that we do here. We visit a goat cheese farm and make cheese. We visit a cider makers. We make bread in a 16th century windmill. I always say food is like a religion here in France. We do a lot around food. And if you love food, this is a great place to be. So the program really layers sort of all of those creative explorations, really getting into that deep dive, like I mentioned, really a lot of hands-on making. This is a program where you're really making things hands-on, coming away with portfolio quality work, professional quality work, festival quality shorts, that you're making throughout the program, as well as layering in that kind of cultural piece, all of the beautiful things that there are to see here in France, and getting that community experience. This is a fully residential program, so you're getting that experience of living in community with other artists. Great, I think that's the end of my slides there, Drew. I think that's all I've got. Do I have any more in there?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Great. So I'm going to put in the chat our website. Do reach out, set up a Zoom with me if you'd like to speak more about your creative interests and how the program can support them. And thanks so much. It's been a real privilege to be here with this fantastic panel.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to be booking my flights over to France right now to make goat cheese and bread in an old mill. Andrea, I do have one quick question that I'm actually seeing from the chat, and that's a fantastic segue into the next section of our evening, the open Q&A. But I'd like to pose to you a question from Erica, and that is, are students able to earn college credit during a Berridge program gap year?
Yeah, Erica, it's a really good question. Thanks for asking that. We do not offer college credit on our program. And that's specifically because we don't want our students to be necessarily bound by curriculum. So we find that this is a place where people can explore creativity, have a lot of creative freedom, collaborate, cook things up. You know, they come with ideas, they generate more ideas when they're here. So we're not really teaching to a specific curriculum and don't want to feel bound by that curriculum. So that's why we don't offer college credit.
Well, thanks so much once again. And with that, as I had mentioned, now is the portion of the evening we're going to open it up to you in the audience. If you have any questions for any of the programs or about gap years in general, you can ask them in the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. While you're all maybe thinking of a question or two to ask, I'd like to pose one over to Jane. Jane, at the end of your fantastic introduction to gap years, you had mentioned a little bit about deferrals, hoping that we might get to it later. I think now's a fantastic time, and I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Thank you, Drew. Well, a lot to say, so I'm going to break it into, I think, two portions. The top two questions we get are, you know, we've gotten into college, and what does that look like now? Can I take a gap year and go to college? And so in most instances, the answer is a resounding yes. But you will need to look into the college that you've been admitted to. But there is a process where you can request to defer your admission or request a deferral. And generally speaking, because the gap year is clearly seen as a successful step in a young adult's growth and maturity capability. We're seeing higher GPAs on college campuses and, you know, just tons of data that support the gap year. Many colleges are very pro gap year. They may very likely have a stated statement on their website. So the first place to start is to go to your admitted college's website and see if you can dig around and find any information about deferrals or gap years. If not, then the next thing would be to contact the admissions team, department, or the specific admissions officer you're working with. At times, students feel a little nervous in this process. Like, I don't want to jeopardize my admission by requesting or asking about a gap year. So first off, if you've been admitted, you're not going to lose that. So no fear there. But if you feel better, then you could call and play anonymous. You know, I'm a junior in high school. I'm thinking your college is really interesting to me. I'm also thinking about a gap year. So this is a good opportunity just to gather that information and find out what the school what their stance is on it. Generally speaking, most colleges will accept a gap year with some kind of written statement. You probably need to pay a deposit to hold your spot for the following year, and usually sign a document that says you will not enroll in another four-year institution, and then write some kind of letter that explains what your intentions are. And when I mute myself, I will drop in the chat a blog that I wrote years ago that includes some of these steps and a sample letter that you're welcome to use as a template on how you might go about writing that letter. Drew, can I spend one more minute addressing the second part of so the second part is for those families who haven't applied and then just thinking, well, can I just take a gap year? This presumes that, I've applied as a senior and in high school and have the acceptance and will defer and take a gap year. But there are loads of families who are not going about it in that way and need the gap year to address burnout, maybe develop an art portfolio, and will be applying to school during the gap year. That is also a very viable option for those students. And, Jason and I really believe sort of this idea of hashtag, you best. So we really believe that the student knows best what modality or which direction will make the most sense when pursuing the college process, when they want to do that and how they want to pursue a deferral. So I hope that helps answer that, and I will drop a link in the chat box.
Thank you, Jane, for such an awesome and thorough answer. I'd actually like to open up that question about college credit that we received for Berridge programs to Ryan. Ryan, I see that you put a little bit of information in the chat. So if you'd like to mention a little bit about Irish Gap Year. And then Alex, if you would also like to talk about how that works for Dragons.
Sure, yeah, no problem, Drew. So we do offer up to 12 college credits on any of our programs, whether it's our arts and culture program, adventure and leadership program, or our European expedition program. During the program time, the student is not responsible for any online curriculum or anything like that. You just have to keep a daily journal, one entry per day, basically on, what you're doing, what your experience is, what you're learning about the world, Ireland, yourself, Europe, etc. After the program ends, you have essentially an essay and a recommended reading book per course. So it's light academically during program time, and that's by design because, as Andrea said, I think everyone in this space wants to honor the fact that this is experiential. This is not online school. This is not college. We're taking a step away from that. That said, there's some real benefits to being able to take credit while on a program. So the obvious one is you can get up to 12 credits for a flat fee of $1,700. So that's like very, very good value for credits. It also allows you to use a 529 account to pay for for your entire program fees. So by taking even just one course, 3 credits, you can pay your whole program fees out of your 529 account. So there's a big advantage there to being cost effective and tax efficient. And then the other thing is it's going to save you a lot of potentially, and this is a question for your school's admissions office and bursary, is it could save a student up to a full semester of credit. So it could make that freshman year course load a little bit lighter. For us, about 25% of the students that come on our programs take advantage of this. We are accredited through Portland State University, as are all Gap Year Association accredited programs. So any program that is accredited by the Gap Year Association will be able to offer that same up to 12 credits that I just described. So that's kind of how it works in a nutshell. There's some very good explainer pages on the Gap Year Association website and on our website as well. I'll drop that link into the chat.
Awesome. That's so great, Ryan. I think he did a great job of explaining how it works. There's definitely some similarities within college credit at Dragons. Students can get up to 16 credit hours through Portland State University on our programs. And then they can get up to 4 credit hours for language through Naropa University. So they could get 20 total. And I just dropped the link to how college credit works at Dragons and what semesters or what courses are offered. They're offered on all of our semester programs, and it's kind of similar to how it works on Irish Gap Year. It doesn't take away from the program experience. What it does is it adds more of those journal reflections. There's a paper and typically a presentation that students have to do at the end, but it doesn't take away from the experience, and they're not spending tons of time, doing college credit while they're there. But it's an excellent thing to take advantage of while they're on their program.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. And of course, thank you to all of our fantastic panelists for sharing a little bit about your programs and about gap years in general. But most importantly, thank you to you if you're watching this at home right now live, or if you're watching this recorded as a video. All of the links to get in contact with any of these wonderful providers are in the chat or in the description below if you're watching this pre-recorded. And with that, thank you so much once again, and good night.